Olson masks are made of 6 pieces. They are 3 pairs of mirror image pieces, which can help reduce cutting. I fold my fabric widthwise as it would be on a bolt, and with one cut I can get a mask worth of pieces. Another thing I do is layer several pieces of fabric to cut multiple masks at one time. You will want to use some weights to hold the layers of fabric so they do not shift during cutting. There can be very little wastage, but do be careful of cutting one-way designs. You want to be sure that at least the face pieces are always right side up. Once your pieces are cut, it's time to start sewing. I start with the mouth and cheek pieces, which all need a 1/4 inch folded over, then sewn down for the pocket edges. The straight edge on the mouth and the wider side on the cheek pieces. You could also simply serge the raw edges if you have a serger. I like to use a contrasting thread for the mouth pieces so the pocket stands out, especially if you are using one material for both mouth and cheek pieces. Otherwise, the pattern can blend and make it hard to find the pocket in the finished mask. The mouth and face pieces each get sewn along the curved edge, and I finish those with a zigzag. Next, the mouth and cheek pieces are put together. The pattern calls for tacking them together. I have found that I can simply clip or pin them together, making sure to line the edges up well. I don't have nearly as many threads coming through the finished seams on the mask that way. To assemble the mask, line up the center seam on the face pieces with the center seam on the mouth pieces. One seam around the whole mask holds it together. Then I zigzag to finish the edges to prevent fraying. I am using a fabric-coated wire as a nose piece, and this zigzag is where I insert it as I finish the seam. If you are using the mask posse nose pieces, then after the mask is right side out, I lay the nose piece on top of the mask and sew alongside the strip, inserting it after I make the pocket. It's difficult to know where the strip is if you put it inside the mask and sew. I broke 2 needles doing that. The last thing is to sew the casings and insert the elastic or ties. I use the gauges on my sewing machine and fold about 3/4 of an inch and sew the edge down. This is where I try to match my bobbin thread to the fabric, but it's not critical. Thread your elastic through and knot or sew it. Or if you prefer to make your elastic loops first, you can just sew them as you make the casing. There is our finished mask. It takes some time, but once you get a few masks done, you will find the places where you can save a little time. Your hands will develop a muscle memory, and it will go much faster.